In at 10, spring-lock suits. While Henry may not have designed the spring-lock suits, he certainly let Afton create them and then allowed for their use in the restaurants, despite them being incredibly dangerous to employees, only putting them out of commission when someone got hurt, and not being proactive because they were literal death machines. You can make separate animatronics and have separate costumes, okay? That's the right move, that's the smart move, it's the safe move, because this so-called businessman thought, yeah, I'll put the safety of my employees at risk by making them wear a hot as balls suit filled with robotic parts that even with the slightest bit of water or moisture will cause those robotic parts to snap back into place. What can go wrong? We want to talk about Willy Wonka's OSHA violations, imagine FNAF's OSHA violations. Actually, you don't need to because we already made that list, okay? Go check it out. And at 9, crushed Elizabeth. Okay, I mean, don't get me wrong, some specific kids make me get William's whole MO, but the fact that he made these robots, especially the fun times, specifically to kill, and then the first kid they get is his own daughter, that's some serious karma, man. But considering how horrific Baby becomes after this, thanks to Elizabeth, I feel like she may have had it coming. This girl was a lot more like her father than she should have been, in all honesty, especially when she was like, what, 3? While yes, crushing any kid would have been bad, but like your creator's daughter? Seriously. Like, why was there no blacklist for these kids? Like, hey, don't grab these. Like, you have the animatronics that can walk on their own, you have advanced AI, you have facial recognition technology, but you can't make a goddamn program that says do not kill these kids, they come from my loins. Bro, like, if you ask me, you had it coming. Like, who tells their kids not to do something and expects them to listen? Jeez. Especially when you built that robot to attract and lure kids, okay? Seriously. Honestly, this is more of a William screw up than a Baby screw up, but either way, this guy's a real dum-dum. And it ain't missing kids. With so many Fazbear locations, having kids go missing, you'd think that they'd go out of business. But maybe every parent feels like they have something to prove or something, so they risk the lives of their kids so that when all is said and done, they can go home and flex on the other parents at the weekly book club meeting saying that their kids survived a trip to Freddy Fazbear's. I don't know. It sounds like a Karen move, but no matter what the reason is, at least 9 kids have gone missing once again in the newest Fazbear location, the Pizzaplex, resulting in multiple complaints, but as we see in the opening cutscene where Freddy glitches out, still a full house. We don't exactly know what happened to these kids, however we can assume that those kids were in fact made into corpses, perhaps to restore Afton to full strength, maybe they're just being kept in a cellar, but either way, it's pretty messed up. I don't know, maybe they need like a sacrifice a month in order to recharge all the animatronics. That's something I wouldn't put past Fazbear. Either way, at least 9 kids have gone missing thanks to Vanny, as we see in the worst ending. So yeah, Vanny's pretty messed up. And at 7, letting fate decide. FNAF 6 was supposed to be the end of the Afton story. I really hoped it would be. That's what Henry sets out to do in this game. Make sure that nobody remembered what happened there, despite the parents of the victims definitely remembering, unless he killed them too. However, this figured that the first fire didn't work, so the second one surely will. And in fact, he was so confident in this plan for whatever stupid reason that he actually let himself die in the process. Quote, leave nobody remembering what happened or whatever. But like I said, even if Henry and William and his son are dead, the parents of the victims still remember. And as we learned from security breach duffel bags, there are parents who remember too, despite not having kids in the past, citing the missing children from the Pizzaplex as happening again. If Henry had stuck around to see if the job was really done like around a hearthstone, maybe William wouldn't have been able to possess Vanny and then come back yet again to wreak more havoc. The Pizzaplex missing children are a direct result of Henry just straight up being a moron, and you can't tell me any different. He should have lit the place up, smashed everything that survived, and then, after he was 100% sure that Afton was dead, after the goddamn autopsy, that's when you can off yourself. And it's 6, betrayal. Top 10 worst anime betrayals, but it's FNAF. In Sister Location, we thought that we finally had the first nice animatronic, like basically a prototype Glamrock Freddy. Baby was giving us tips on how to survive, she helped us through Balora's gallery, she really seemed like she wanted us to live. But then, what do we get for trusting her? Scooped and stuffed just like a Thanksgiving turkey. This was probably one of the most brutal things to happen to a character in the entire series, and it's all because we trusted Baby. It's because we trusted a woman. She She made us feel safe, she gave us confidence, prevented us from getting killed only to use our body as a skin suit and then get kicked out of Enter Not Even a Game later, and she also took the goddamn kids. This is why I don't trust Glamrock Freddy. Baby is legit one of the reasons that I have trust issues now, and that's saying something. Like, holy damn. I could have sworn that Glamrock Freddy was going to do the exact same thing. Like, lead us down to Afton and then pull a psych. I've been working for this bag the whole time to die, but he didn't. However, thanks to Baby, I still think this man is doing a long con. Source this video, whichever side it pops up on. Halfway through into number 5, Resurrected Afton. The scariest thing that Vanny did, from any real standpoint, is resurrecting Afton. From an in-universe perspective, she brought back seemingly the Earth's most prolific killer. From a story perspective, it kinda comes out of nowhere and feels forced. And in a game sense, he just looks terrifying and sends all the broken animatronics after us. And lore-wise, because, well, Afton's back. However, he's also not entirely back, considering how this version is actually finally dead, seemingly, but only functional because the coded part of Afton's brain is in him. I don't No. This is why it's scary. We all figured that Afton was gonna come back this time around, okay? And understandably so, with the first trailer literally featuring an arm that every YouTuber, including us, milked for as long as they could. Whether he's actually alive again or not, this is the scariest thing that Vanny did in multiple ways. And now, it's canon in universe that people can turn into sentient code that can then be uploaded into animatronics and people, which is a whole other can of worms that I don't want to deal with. And at 4, killing Vanny. In the Phaser Blast ending, you know, the one where you push the button instead of playing Princess Quest 3, Gregory ends up ordering robots to, quote, disassemble Vanny, because he heard Vanny say it to disassemble Freddy. But Gregory, he knows that this is going to kill Vanny, okay? And him being willing to kill Vanny is extremely messed up, especially if this kid is meant to be 10 or 11, which everyone seems to believe, even though he's like the size of a 4-year-old. That's a whole other issue. But like, you could argue that he doesn't know any better, okay? But Gregory clearly does know better. This kid is easily able to destroy all 3 animatronics without a moment's hesitation and then use their upgrades on Freddy. He can drive a goddamn truck, and then he's just willing to kill Vanny, like I said, despite actually seemingly knowing her like we see in the best ending. And he burns Burn Trap multiple times in an attempt to stop him from taking control over Freddy. So like, what the absolute living hell is this kid doing, and how is he so nonchalant about this whole thing? This kid kills Vanny and then only gets emotional when he has to go talk to a destroyed Freddy robot. Like, dude, there is a literal human bleeding out right next to you. You can say, like, he was doing it in self-defense, but he's not, okay? Self-defense requires the proper use of force. This kid could have said, stop Vanny, restrain Vanny, I don't know, tackle Freddy, not freaking disassemble, okay? Like, I get that it's fresh in your mind, but dude, they literally were tearing the limbs off of Freddy in that scene. We see what happened to Freddy with his whole chest and stuff just being open. Like, imagine that, but soft, fleshy, easily broken, because, you know, it's not metal, human. Yeah, you're not panicking about literally anything else. Just say something that doesn't involve a human dying, okay? Especially if you know her. Gregory commits murder in one of the endings to this game. Does nobody find that a cause for concern? Getting close to the end in at number 3, Burning. FNAF 6 is a pretty good game. It was something new and probably the most interactive FNAF game ever, since we got to make our own pizzeria and then ended up becoming a part of the story. But the ending, while good and one of the most iconic speeches of all time, Michael letting himself go up in flames as well as the whole pizzeria is seriously dumb on his part too. I mentioned this last time and I blamed Henry for it, but also like, bro, you've seen your father come back how many times? Just as many at least as anyone else. So like, at least keep kicking for a year or two to actually make sure that he's dead instead of just hoping he is. You know this man is as relentless as Taco Bell after a night of binge drinking, so like, why would you just think things are gonna be fine? I wish like one person in this series would actually think something through. And you know what? Henry encouraging him to stay and then also not giving him a way out just seems like a horrible idea to me. Straight up. Like, I get that you want nobody to remember this, but unless you go out and kill the parents of the victims and literally anyone who's ever covered the story or even even read about it, people are always going to remember. Okay, so just stay alive, make sure the story is over, and then you can off yourself. Jeez. Both Michael and Henry are honestly at fault for this because Michael didn't even try to get out, but it's mostly Henry in my eyes, okay? Michael just gave up. And finally, in at number 1, stored your daughter. We all know that Afton isn't the best dad, but it's something else to lock up your robot-possessed daughter into an animatronic testing facility, okay? That seems to be a bit too far if you ask for my humble opinion. But nevertheless, he still did it. And that's what Sister Location is all about. And even in that game, we are shocking Baby. We are shocking his daughter, okay? William was the one who sent us as Michael down there in the first place. And then we get shoved full of Ennard bits so that they can escape after we've shocked literally all the animatronics, including his daughter. Like, did William know about that plan? Because like in FNAF 6, Baby says that she's gonna make her dad proud. So like, was William's intention to send us down there so that Baby could get out? And if that was the case, why did he lock her down there in the first place? And why did he make us shock her? And if she was your daughter, okay, why not just have her chill around the house? Okay, like in the books, Baby is able to transform between like the baby animatronic and a human looking animatronic at will. So why not add this to the version of your daughter? Then you can have your daughter back, albeit a little more metal, and not in the cool way, but in the actually made of metal kind of way. I don't know, you're stupid. And 10 fought Ennard. FNAF 5 and 6 had some serious changes between them. Baby went from being a part of Ennard to her own separate animatronic again, with seemingly no explanation. Well, no explanation if you're not really a FNAF fan, since we all know that the interaction that caused this unfortunate split actually took place within the source code of Scott Cawthon's websites, where the two, ScottGames.com and FNAFWorld.com, were actually arguing with each other, which resulted in Baby getting voted off the island. But honestly, thinking about it, this was a stupid idea. It seems like Molten Freddy is the one that's now controlling the blob, since they're the face that the blob prefers to use to jump scare the player and interact with Afton. But we also know that Molten Freddy is just the remains of Ennard after Baby got kicked out, hence why it dropped the whole clown aesthetic. It's also worth noting that Baby's face is also in the blob, except it's missing its red eyes and the red lights in its eyes, alright? Meaning that the soul is probably not contained within the animatronic amalgam. So, if Baby had stayed a part of Ennard, she still might be fighting to this day. I mean, of course, we can't be certain that she's not possessing something else, but we can't be sure that she is either. Plus, I mean, I feel like if you're combined with 5 other animatronics, you're gonna be stronger than if you're just alone. Power in numbers. And at 9, corrupt Funtime service. Now, while Gregory might be the culprit behind the FNAF security breach animatronics going haywire according to some theories, the corrupt animatronics from FNAF AR are an entirely different story. These are most likely caused by Vanny, as she was possibly trying to find a new host for Afton using the special delivery animatronics. However, when that didn't work out, she figured that she needed his old vessel to actually return to, which would explain her moving around. However, her corrupting these animatronics directly results in even more deaths at the hands of Fazbear Entertainment robots, which is a whole other issue that I don't understand how in their world hasn't been addressed yet, okay? Like, the cops investigating, or like someone hire a private investigator, please, for the love of God. Someone has to be suspicious about what's going on here, right? Like, Fazbear Entertainment is sus as hell. They've clearly vented, but also this resulted in so many deaths, and multiple of my deaths. Well, I mean, like, if I had played FNAF AR, okay? The only way to win is not to play, so technically I won, but like, still, if I had played, it would have resulted in my death many times over. And at 6, Afton Amalgam. One of the biggest plot twists in the Fazbear Frights books epilogue stories is that they end up fighting a giant trash rabbit known as the Afton Amalgam. But then a mysterious black blob is revealed to be behind everything. This blob is then revealed to be controlled by Baby, or I guess by Elizabeth. Either way, at this point, it's the same goddamn thing. I'm guessing that this reveal was originally intended to happen after Security Breach was released, given the original release date of the game and the books, which would have made this so much more rewarding, but Baby was literally revealed to be controlling a version of her father, the man who got her killed by creating a robot designed to kill other kids. The man who killed her brother in that same way, who killed 5 additional kids, and who wanted to bring her brother back to life as an animatronic. She controlled a version of him, and then still wanted to make him proud. Halfway through in at number 5, stayed open. Not only did Henry Emily allow for the spring lock suits to be used by staff, even if it was in their contract. It shouldn't have been in their contract, it shouldn't have needed to be in their contract. But this man kept the company going after losing how many kids? His daughter, Afton's 2 kids, 5 more in 1985, and then however many kept getting slaughtered every time they reopened. By reopening over and over, Henry gave Afton a location location to kill. Even when he got Afton banned from the location and tried to use facial recognition tech to keep him out, Afton made the robots, so of course he's not gonna add himself to the facial recognition, you if it was even ever actually a thing to begin with. This man reopened how many times before finally biting it in FNAF 6? Seriously, before Springtrap was even a thing, they reopened like 3 times at least. Why did this man think that any of this was a good idea? In FNAF 6, he says he wants everyone to forget about the tragedies that were caused by these restaurants. Just do that by closing the restaurants in the first place, before Springtrap was created, so that we can all just live in peace. God. In a forced security room. Now, look, okay, locking us in a security room while we're trespassing and then waiting for the cops is one thing. Doing that, saying you're calling the cops and then not calling the cops is something else. And on top of that, changing into your serial killer persona and then coming after me while I try to escape with the very clear present on the ground is another thing. But some say we can't fault Vanessa on this because she ended up losing control to Afton and that's not her fault. But you know what, actually it is. I've talked about this before. Vanessa knows that Afton is controlling her. Well, maybe not exactly, but she knows that someone else is in her head and that they don't really have good intentions. She knows she's blacking out. I mean, how can not know that? We know that she knows all of this thanks to the CDs where she's talking to the therapist about how he could always be listening, and she just doesn't know where he could be. She knows about all of this, yet still locks us in a room where her psychotic double can then find and kill us. Bro, come on. Why would you think that that's a good idea? Just kick us out next time, especially if you're trying to resist William's influence. It's not like he's gonna make you off yourself, okay? He's gotten this far. He isn't gonna restart. Like, if he even has the ability to restart. He might not, okay? You're like his only lifeline. Then it goes to the end into number 3, bullying. Okay, I'm not talking about what this specifically leads to, but actually like the tormenting of the younger brother, while common among siblings, especially in the media. This is still cruel. I mean, even Roderick wouldn't have ripped the head off of one of Greg's plushies and used it to torment him. So yeah, the bullying here, Michael, definitely a damn shame. And honestly, the fact that William did nothing to reprimand his son for tormenting his other son only makes this worse, which caused Michael to then escalate and eventually escalate so much that, well, we all know what happened. But even without that, brothers who torment their younger brothers like that are cruel. I mean, like, yeah, I was mean to my sister, but I didn't destroy her stuff so that I could use it as masks and then scare her even more, okay? And what? I'm sure that he doesn't just wear it to scare a crying child either. He probably just walks around with it to make him mad, since, you know, he's wearing the stuffed animal's face. And I wouldn't have put my sister in an animatronic mouth, okay? Like, I know that they're not gonna crush her skull, but like, I still wouldn't do it. And finally, in number 1, the first victim. They say a killer's first victim is the most important, or at least that's what they said on CSI, since it usually indicates what got them to actually start killing or other psychological clues that could be used to predict their next moves. But in the case of William Afton, his first victim was the daughter of his longtime business partner Henry, which is hella messed up because she was 3 at the time, that time being 1983. And this was the year that Afton's life starts going downhill in the worst ways possible, but he started killing off kids, and then he sticks with that MO throughout the rest of his criminal career. And this is before his kids die too. But the fact that his first victim was someone who trusted him, but who didn't like exactly suspect him, even though her father did, okay, that's something that I fear. I'm not a parent, okay, so I can only imagine how this must have felt. And if that was me, I would be doing a lot more than burning down restaurants in an attempt to put William down, alright? I'd be there doing it myself. Especially if he had killed my daughter when she was 3 years old, okay? Like, I can feel the rage brewing inside me, and I don't even have someone that I could have a daughter with. So, yeah, Afton, you got lucky. That's a villain origin story if I've ever heard one, bro. In a 10, possibly killed wife. Well, this hasn't been confirmed as of yet, so it's currently is non-canon, but many people consider William Afton offing his wife to be the story of her demise, even though technically we know nothing about her and she could still be alive. Many people consider her to have died either in a car crash or because William killed her. Those are the most common thoughts on the matter, although her dying in a car accident came from a FNAF music video that was made by the Living Tombstones, and I don't even think there's actually a car accident in the video. I looked at it and I don't think there was a car accident, but I've had many people yell at me in my DMs and in the comments telling me that it's canon that she dies in a car accident, but it's not. It's not not even canon that she died, really, okay? I mean, it's FNAF, so the potential is there that William was the reason she kicked the animatronic part-filled bucket, but it's only a possibility. That's why it's at the top, okay? I get, if it ends up getting confirmed, I am more than willing to bump it up more on this list, but I mean, like, statistically speaking, your spouse is the person most likely to kill you, especially if they're a serial killer bent on bringing their son back from death, but I mean, hey. In at 9, arson. Alright, don't get me wrong, I love fire, and I've made jokes about arson multiple times on this channel, but because I love a little anarchy. But this man has some serious pyromaniac tendencies from the looks of things, alright? Henry Emily. He sets one place on fire in 2023 and then proceeds to light another building on fire not long after that. Bro, what's your deal? Like, why are you all so fire happy all of a sudden, okay? It doesn't even work. Literally every time we see a fire, it doesn't do one thing. It doesn't do the one thing we wanted it to do, which is kill Afton for good. He survived in FNAF 3, he survived in FNAF 6, he survived in the security breach fire only to get grabbed by the blob, so clearly fire isn't working. But Henry doesn't stop, even though it failed when Afton was literally locked in a room for 30 years. And yes, the FNAF security breach fires were thanks to Henry, since it was almost certainly the same system that he used to set the original FNAF 6 building on fire because it's the same building. So yeah, since this is the Freddy's simulated pizzeria from that game, those fires are the same fires, but also not. This man keeps setting fire after fire with no actual accomplishments because of it. Like, goddamn, take a hint, dude, it's not working. And it ain't sealed Afton. Speaking of putting William out of commission for 30 years, why did he do that? It seems like a dumb idea compared to some alternatives, okay? Maybe he tried other avenues before he actually ended up hiding those rooms away and sealing them. Maybe that was his last resort. But in reality, we can't be sure. We have really nothing to go off of, okay? This man sees Afton stuck spasming in the spring Bonnie suit and then straight up thinks, yeah, let's just hide this and let's put him out of his misery and try to end his killing spree once and for all. I mean, he might have tried it, and I mean, like, we know he's possessed, so he couldn't have done it, but like, did he try? We don't know. It seems like the biggest mistake made by any FNAF character is the choice to make William suffer. If we just like put him to the sword, maybe we'd all be able to go home safely. But no, okay, he locks Afton in a room where he hopes that he'll starve to death and suffer. Stupid idea, okay? He could have just ended it there, hopefully, maybe, possibly. We don't know if he was possessed at that point. I don't know he was possessed at that point. He could have tried to end it. We don't know if he tried or not, okay? But like, even if it did work, it's not like someone's gonna know it was you, or even that the animatronic actually contained a person, okay? Even like the death penalty nowadays doesn't have people suffer, okay? Like, don't be dumb for your own petty vengeance. Let them suffer in prison, where they're probably gonna get killed anyway, because they don't like people who attack children in prison, which is weird enough, but like, still. But hey, and if you're gonna lock them in a room for 30 years, don't set them free. There's a thought. And it's 7 fun times. There's no doubting what you've achieved on a technical level. These are clearly state of the art. There are just certain design choices that were made for these robots that we don't fully understand. We were hoping that you could shed some light on those. She can dance, she can sing. She's equipped with a built-in helium tank for inflating balloons right at her fingertips. She can take song requests, so she can even dispense ice cream. With all due respect, those aren't the design choices we were curious about, Mr. Afton. This classic line of Afton being interrogated that plays the first time you open up Sister Location is definitely showcasing some stupid mistakes. Like, the cops know that what these animatronics are capable of and were designed to do, so they instantly end up being even more suspicious of him. And then they're going to be keeping an even closer eye on him, and then he's like, oh yeah, I'm gonna be sarcastic with them. Like, what? Like, this is probably why he starts dressing up in like the the Bonnie suit to start killing people, which ultimately ends up screwing him over. So yeah, you know what? Designing the fun times as killbots was definitely a horrible thing. Especially considering how, you know, one of them was meant to symbolize your dead wife. Because that's a thing. I don't even want to know how you tried filling that one up with souls. That takes the definition of funtime animatronic to a horrible level, and I don't want to deal with that. Not to mention, you know, the other one that killed your daughter. And at 6, trespassing. Okay, so while yes, he does break into the Pizzaplex, Gregory also ends up trespassing the entirety of Security Breach. That's like literally the premise of this game. He has breached their security. Gregory is trapped in there after it is closed, but that also makes it trespassing. Like how you aren't supposed to stay overnight in a Walmart like people used to claim to be doing in YouTube videos. Yeah, even though they're locked inside, it's actually trespassing, okay? And this would be too. He gets told to leave multiple times, and the security guard is at least seemingly trying to help him get home, okay? So like, at least legally speaking, to the cameras and to any outsider, she would be helping or trying to. So assuming he ended up getting caught, he could be charged. Although with anything else that happened, I don't think that they'd actually end up charging him. But he also goes into restricted sections of the Pizzaplex, like where we have to go to find the true ending, and then we also like where we have to go to after we crush Chica. So yeah, and no matter what way you try to slice it, he ends up trespassing at some point in this game, and that's pretty messed up. Okay, yeah. Halfway through into number 5, later that night. The Midnight Motorist minigame seems simple enough, but the true horror of this minigame comes from the implications of it. Since in the game files, the minigame is known as Later That Night. Most people akin this game to what happened after William kills Charlotte outside Fredbear's Family Diner in FNAF 2's Take Cake minigame, but if that is true, this is probably one of the scariest moments in FNAF history. This man just killed someone, but then goes home to his kids. He reprimands his son and potentially locks him in his room so much that he had to break his window to escape. Plus, think of all the people driving past him, unaware of the violent crime he had just committed. It's scary because this could be the case in the real world too. Technically speaking, anyone we encounter could be a serial killer, and that is a horrific thought since you're also only technically alive because everyone you've encountered has in a way chosen not to kill you, which only makes the whole anyone could be a serial killer thing even worse. I mean, that's just my paranoid brain, but that's fine. That's because of trauma. And in this case, this man has literally just killed someone, and then he comes home to his kids and starts yelling at his son who's been in his room all day. Like, god damn, bro, how much residual anger do you have? Therapy, Afton. Therapy. In it for taunting. Okay, now, being a killer is one thing, especially in a video game, but when you're so sadistic that you end up taunting the various characters or people that you intend on killing, that's when it ends up getting scary. And Vanny certainly does this, whether it's on her sound system, her popping up on the TV, or her joyfully skipping towards us until she's close enough to dash. She's playing with us, like we're a pet on a farm, before she ultimately puts us down so that the family can have dinner. Like, come on, there's no way that she's just like that, okay? Especially with Afton being the one who's controlling her, essentially, just making this another version of him. So yeah, her taunting us, her playing with her food is some of the freakiest crap in these games. Like, imagine if freaking Ted Bundy or John Wayne Gacy was coming after you and they're just like skipping down the middle of the street while being like lit up by lampposts, okay? That's basically what this is. And actually, based on Supernatural's depiction, that's actually how John Wayne Gacy would have acted. But like, either way, this is still creepy as hell, okay? It's bad. No. Getting close to the end, and in number 3, human masks. Now, it's unclear what Vanny does with these human masks, but through the FNAF AR emails, we learned that Vanessa, while in her Vanny Persona 5, ended up purchasing 3 realistic human masks. No idea why. It's, like, never brought up again, but honestly, you gotta admit that's pretty terrifying no matter what she ends up doing with them. Maybe they were for realistic humanoid robots, maybe, or maybe she wanted to prank people on Omegle, where she pretends to be a dude or something. I don't know, okay? But the possibilities are fairly finite, but also endless, if you know what I'm saying. Like, there are so many things that she could be doing with those masks that it's impossible to guess. I mean, Educated Guessing and MatPat both lean towards one of the masks being used on Gregory, but this then begs the question, if that is true, where did the other 2 go? Or like, were they used at all? Or like any of them? Vanessa and Gregory are the only 2 human characters in this game, so like, what's the deal here? Is she using one to like put on William again so that he has a normal face? I don't know, just buying them is scary enough, but like, did she use them? Or did she hang them on her wall or something? I think the fact that we didn't see them in Security Breach makes it worse than actually knowing what she did with them. But ultimately, into number 2, grand larceny. Now, stealing a boatload of trinkets, fine, assuming we gave that as a pass to Gregory, okay? Either way, he still commits grand larceny, which is typically seen as stealing anything with a combined value of $400 or more, or something that would cost over $400 to replace in a reasonable amount of time. If we ignore the 87 collectible prize boxes found throughout Security Breach, which would easily equal to over $400, he still steals Freddy at the end of the game. In multiple endings, Freddy and Gregory leave the Pizzaplex without a care in the world, including the canon ending. And before you say, Connor, I'm calling BS, Freddy chose to leave with Gregory in those endings. Freddy is an animatronic robot, okay? He has no free will. He is not sentient. He physically, in the eyes of the law, cannot make that choice. He is property of Fazbear Entertainment. He is not a living being, okay? He has no rights. He is a robot. He's an object in the most literal sense of the word, which makes me think that we need to just stop playing these games. I mean, I don't even want to deal with this. So, Gregory, in theory, should be getting charged with a whole lot more than just grand larceny, in my mind, based on multiple other videos. I mean, like, a couple parts ago, I'm pretty sure I explained to you that he just straight up murders Vanny. But yeah, tell me that you don't think replacing Freddy in a reasonable amount of time would cost less than $400. Okay, if you're trying to tell me that right now, I need you to leave this video, okay? He would be the most expensive thing to replace. He literally is, the AI complexity alone would cost $400. God. And finally, in at number 1, the missing children's incident. I mean, this is fairly low-hanging fruit since it's like the inciting moment for the whole series, but I think it's worth calling out at least. The missing children's incident, in case you've forgotten, is the infamous incident where 5 kids go missing inside of Freddy Fazbear's Pizza and are never seen again. Police investigated but were unable to find any bodies, thus they had to let their suspect, in this case I'm guessing William Afton, go due to a lack of evidence. However, this is one of the most historically painful moments that you can think of, okay, especially if you're a parent. 5 families went into Freddy Fazbear's wanting their kids to have a good time, like in 1985, and then left without their favorite people. They had the time of their lives, and it also just so happened to be the end of their lives. Not only that, but Afton also ends up getting away with it since the police were terrible at their jobs or getting paid off. Still not sure which one in this case, okay? But the missing children's incident is one of the most messed up things to ever happen in this series, but without it, we wouldn't have the series. So, at least it's all fake on this earth, at least. In at 10, killed their brother. Joy. Right off the bat, or at least they tried to. Since we play as Michael in every game of the original series with the exception of FNAF 4 and 7, Michael is always the one in danger. And since Baby is after us as the player in FNAF 5 and 6, she is legit trying to kill her brother. And she does so in such a menacing way. Being able to absolutely slaughter your brother without a moment's thought is probably one of the most messed up things that Baby could have done. But if we're being honest at this point, she was kinda nuts, so I think that it's better to put her up higher on the list. Like, honestly, thinking about this, in the 5th game, she wasn't really trying to kill him, just get inside of him, which sounds awful when you say it out loud, but in Pizzeria Simulator, she definitely wanted to kill you, okay? And then during her final speech, she even thinks that it's what her father would want. So needless to say, she's pretty out of it at this point, but it makes it slightly more forgiving, but not by much. And at 9, No Choice. While he may have had issues killing Afton for whatever reason, Henry Emily just seems to be fine offing Afton's son when he gets the chance. I mean, in both fires set by Henry that we see, FNAF 3 and 6, Michael was there both times, and he didn't seem to care that Michael was in the building. He didn't even give Michael the opportunity to exit in FNAF 6, despite there having been a way out planned. Quote from Henry's final speech, "And to you, my brave volunteer, who somehow found this job listing not intended for you. Although there was a way out planned for you, I have a feeling that's not what you want. I have a feeling that you are right where you want to be." He has a feeling? Like, you assume that I also want to die in these halls and then don't give me the chance to actually make that decision for myself? He forces us to die since he doesn't give us a way out. But sorry, man, but that's murder, okay? Whether we wanted it or not, assisted suicide is still illegal, at least for the majority of the states, from my understanding, so either way, this is a crime. But again, he doesn't give us the option, so it makes it more of a murder-suicide than an assisted self-offing. And it ain't nothing. Michael Afton's biggest sin in my mind is his ability to do nothing. Like, sure, he seems to be playing the good guy, going after his father, but really, Michael to me just seems like he's been playing hero this whole time and not really doing anything. Sure, he says he's trying to right his father's wrongs and whatnot, but looking at him, not doing it because he's a good person, he's doing it because he feels bad, and not because of some higher moral code. He blames himself for getting his brother killed, which I mean is accurate, which then subsequently means that anything he does, he's doing to try to make himself feel better about his mistakes. Because in the end, nothing will really bring his little brother back. Well, I mean, that's a whole other story. But I mean, he doesn't even really have the gall, the nuts, the balls, the cojones to actually stop his father once and for all. He says that he's going to come find him, but then when he does in FNAF 6, he doesn't burn the place down to stop him. Henry has to do it. Henry is the only one who's actually willing to eventually sack up and actually try to stop William, and that just shows how serious Michael actually is, okay? If he really wanted to make sure that William was stopped, he wouldn't have let himself burn in the FNAF 6 fire either, okay? He would have forced his way out. But he does, okay? He lets it happen. He sits in the room. Just so that he won't have to feel regret of his brother dying and like having the curse of knowledge since he knows what his father was doing. It's messed up. And it's 7 lied about Remnant. Now, this also isn't confirmed, much like the fact that he possibly killed his wife. However, Afton lying about how Remnant works seems to be the most likely explanation to me. So if you want a full explanation as to why I think that Afton lied about Remnant, go check out that video, okay? Link is in the iCard, if I can remember. Can't guarantee that, but I'm gonna try, okay? But I'm gonna wrap up my ideas quickly here. Basically, there have been 3 fires so far that were all meant to finish William Afton for good, and none of them worked. The reason Henry tried fire is seemingly because that's supposed to be the thing that can burn off Remnant. However, Remnant can also be found in liquid form, so how can it be molten but also burn off via fire? You use fire to make things molten. It makes more sense to me, at least, that William ended up making up this lie and passing it off as Phineas Taggart or something similar, so that Henry thinks that he can be killed by fire, so if Henry did try to kill him, he would keep trying and failing to do so, since he didn't have to worry about actually dying. Since literally every time Afton has been caught in a fire, he has survived, okay? And you may think that it's the one you should not have killed, but the other animatronics infused with Remnant also survive, like Baby, the puppet, and Ennard in FNAF 6, as we see from the Blob. So, yeah. And at 6, listened to his father. Now this takes a bit of assuming, okay? But less assuming than if Glamrock Freddy is possessed, so it's gonna be a little more realistic. We learn in Michael's final speech in Sister Location that he went to find his sister because his father asked him to, saying something along the lines of, "I did it, I put her back together, just like you asked me to," which is, yes, in reference to Baby. But the issue I have with this is, why did you listen to your dad? Okay? I don't think he learned about the horrible things his father did because of Baby, okay? I think he must have learned of it beforehand. Maybe when he got Crying Child killed, because, you know, it was a freaking animatronic jaw that should not have been able to do that, and that's why he put his head in there to begin with, okay? And even if he didn't know what William was doing, honestly, that could make this point even worse. Like, what else has William asked his son to do? Either while he's been stuck in Fazbear's Fright, or before that, what has Michael done without question? I don't know, okay? It's a thought that really worries me, and maybe Michael has more to repent for than just hurting his brother, you know? Maybe he's accidentally found victims for William. It's possible. We don't know. And at 4, Bad Babysitter. Now, while we don't really know the details about what's going on inside the Midnight Motorist minigame, I think it's fairly safe to say that this is supposed to be the Afton family, and particularly the Afton males. Seemingly, Michael was babysitting Crying Child while their father was, at work, but Michael was just watching some TV, and not his little brother, which allowed his little brother to break his window and go to a pizza place again, which I'm sure made his father so angry that when he got back home, he wasn't the nice father I'm sure he pretends to be on the outside, if you kinda know what I mean. So, Michael's neglect ended up getting his little brother in trouble, and then God knows what else, all because he wanted to watch his show, which is possibly Immortal and the Restless, which, you know what, makes it even worse because it's a freaking soap opera. Okay, and before any of you get mad at me and tell me that, like, the one who tells William to go easy on Crying Child is someone else, okay? It's Michael. It's most definitely Michael. It's not a wife, okay? Since this is after William started killing. Plus, it's the same gray shirt that he wears in FNAF 4 in front of the same TV we sit at in Sister Location. That's about as clear cut as this series gets. So, yeah. But ultimately, in number 2, neglect. I find it kind of funny how the worst things that characters have done in this series come from actual humans. And you know what? This might make a few Henry stans mad, but it has to be said. If you're suspicious of your business partner and concerned for your daughter's well-being, you don't just give her a special bracelet that makes her a priority to the one security robot that you have, especially when that bot can be easily disabled by just putting a couple of boxes on top of it. No, you keep her at home. You keep an eye on her as much as you can. You know, in this scenario, being a helicopter parent is okay because her life is actually in danger. And you should be doing that anyways because, you know, she's like 3 years old. You don't give her a bracelet then let her run amongst the big kids at the pizza place where she then gets locked outside of and killed. Dude. No. How did she even get locked outside? How is this possible? Like, how could that even happen? Neglect. This man put a green bracelet on his 3-year-old daughter and said, "That's enough," and then neglected her, hoping that a green band would be enough. Dude, what the actual hell? Especially when the man you think may hurt her is the one who built the goddamn animatronics in the first place and knows exactly how to disable it when the time comes. The worst thing Henry has done was straight up get his daughter killed. He suspected William and then didn't report it to the cops until his daughter died, okay? He could have at least gotten a conspiracy charge or had Afton under observation, could have gotten him looked at by the cops so that his daughter would at least be safe for the time being. And then he thinks that a bracelet is enough to keep her safe, thanks to an animatronic that William had designed. It was Afton Robotics after all. God damn, just move! And finally, in at number 1, they started everything. We can joke all we want about how Afton has a hardcore bloodlust in this series, but his desire for human destruction has been there since the start. Thanks to the fast facts found in FNAF AR's files, we learned that the Funtime robots, the one used in Sister Location, were actually some of the first robots that Afton made. Not necessarily the exact first, but among the first. And that's when they built the special containment chambers inside to store away items, which we all know is code for a child storage tank that we can actually see inside the Funtimes when you look at their blueprints. So this means that Afton has been wanting to kill kids since before his kids died. Hell, maybe even before they were born, depending on when this actually takes place in the timeline, which at this point is as simple as like my feelings for Vanessa, which is not simple at all. His desire to kill has caused me enough suffering in real life, let alone in the games. So yeah, definitely the worst thing a FNAF character has done, but I'm still gonna blame Scott.